they also wanted like 6 segments. So trying to, do everything times 6 on a slide, like a lot of them just feel very busy.
Yeah.
Very data heavy, and like, I guess if that's what they want, then that's what I'll give them.
I hear you.
But I guess I don't know if you just sort of had any general thoughts about like
Yeah.
better ways of, when you need to show, when that's the ask, like they want a lot of data.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So when I start thinking about how to design a slide, I think about the audience first. To me, when I hear somebody wants to see all of the data, I hear a research audience. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
They're like internal. Now, they're going to have to show it to someone who's not in a research function, marketing, C-suite, that kind of thing.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a deck that kind of has to do dual duty. In a way, it has to show something in a way that is not data heavy, like as you're intuiting, but they also have to have access to the data to be able to, looks like they want to look at it and make their own decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way I might do that, and just like I was telling Meg, is to start making choices, right? So you have 6 segments. I don't know what your key themes are or what the sort of big question of the deck is, right? But there are going to be some attributes of those segments that are important to show in something like a more executive high level summary.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be others that can be in the sort of, here's the data dump, sort of, here's everything across sort of slides. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I've had to do slides like this before with 6 segments, and it does get a little unwieldy because if I have a slide, whoop, you're probably going to have something like a takeaway or at least a summary sentence that says, here's the key idea here, right? Now with 6 things, you're limited with where that can go. So you probably have a slide number here. You should have some kind of footer here, whatever that says, confidential, whatever. Maybe a logo is here, or maybe it's here. Maybe it's here. But those are kind of like I like to push in my template things out to the edges with a slide like this to give myself as much, like that's the trade-off. Like I was just telling Meg, if you want 6 segments, oh, I'm going to change your template so that things are pushed to the edge. So if they have a logo that's like one of these, that's really big, go in your slide master and remove that, make it small and push it to the corner. We can see it. We know who you are.
Yeah.
So, and then you're going to have something like a key theme or a title at the very top, right? And it's going to say these people are blah, blah, blah. Now, when you're laying out a slide, you got to lay it out in columns. So this is my space where all those things are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is usually the limit I like to do, but with 6, it's going to get a little tight, right? So you're going to have 6 really tight columns. You can do it, but it's hard. You're not going to be able to show as much, right? Because you're probably going to have a picture for each segment, right? Or something that says who they are. You're going to have their name, and then you're going to have all the data. And you want to have it so you can compare them to each other across, right?
Right. That's what they want, though.
Yeah. And so you have to have it so that this is essentially going to be, I would do this in 6 tables, but align them so that it appeared to be one table. And you got to figure out how many attributes, given this and given everything else that's happening on the slide, how much space do you have here for stuff that's going to be readable? Probably at 12 point. Maybe you can push it to 10.5. You know, I have a medical client where they like 7. It's a dream. It's like, I can fit the world on this slide, but they might not like that. So figure out, okay, I can give you 6 attributes on a slide times 6, which is 36. You know what I mean?
Right.
That you can compare. And maybe that's a happy medium. And if you want to see all 10 or 12 or whatever it is, that's going to be kind of in, let's call it an appendix section, or a section that you call something like, whatever it is, but it's going to be for the research crowd. But your upfront slides are going to have to be more condensed because C-suite and all that don't want to look at even 36 data points. You're probably going to give them something more like, you're probably going to have to give them something that's even more high level. So we've got all the same stuff as always in our corners, right? Our branding and our slide numbers and all that. You might be able to get away with something that's a bit more like this. That's a bit more kind of friendly looking, you know?
Mhm.
So you've got who's the segment, you've got their faces, you know, and you've got, you know, that kind of thing. And you've got a few big numbers where you can go 25% this and 35% that, you know what I mean? And you can see really big at a high level, like, oh, depending on whatever the question is, you know, who's going to be our high hanging fruit and low hanging fruit, whatever it is, then you can see really clearly like, oh, these two groups are who we need to go after. And you can make them the bright brand colors. And then like these three are like, they're gray. We don't go after them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then they can see at a glance, like, oh, it's these two segments. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and these are like, you know, low, they don't matter. Whatever it is. But that's how I would approach something like that. So that you are helping your client with what they asked for, right? They want all the data, so that they can look at it and make a decision. But it also saves them time just from a client services perspective, because they're going to have to go in and do this eventually.
Right.
So why don't you help them with it and go ahead and do it for them up front? And then they go, oh, you know what I mean? You're not just giving us a data dump. You're giving us something more of that value add as our consultant. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that does. That's cool. That gives me an idea. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries.